Hey race fans, it's time for the Fast and the Furious tournament, where speed, skill, and pure horsepower collide. We've got some seriously fast cars lined up for today, and trust me, you do not want to miss what's about to come in this video. So here's the deal. Pick the car who you think will come out on top, drop it in the comments, and let's see who knows their stuff. Alright, here's our 16 car bracket. Let's go ahead and meet our drivers in this tournament. First up, we have Jesse driving his dad's Jetta. Will he keep his car, or will Johnny Tran beat him and take it home? Next up, we have Brian driving his Supra, racing against Dom in the OG Dodge Charger. Next up, we have a beautiful Yenko Camaro racing against Brian in the Eclipse. Next up, we have Han driving Mona Lisa, aka the S15 Sylvia, racing against Drift King himself in the 350Z. Then we have Slapjack in the orange Supra racing against Brian in the famous R34 Skyline. Then we have Suki in the pink S2000 battling against Brian in his Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution. Next up, we have Sean Boswell driving his Monte Carlo, and I wish we had a Viper, but nope, he's racing against Dom in the Hellcat Charger. Then we have the beautiful blue STI racing against Dom in his cousin's Chevy Fleetline. Let's head to the line for race number 1. Alright, our first matchup, we have Jesse racing against Johnny Tran. Careful, Jesse. That guy's got over 100 grand under the hood of that car. Jesse out front early by inches, but Johnny Tran into the turn. Into turn number 2, Jesse out front just a little bit, and Johnny Tran passes him in the air and cuts him off into the turn number 3, and he hits the NOS, and he's out of there. Down the track he goes into turn 4, and Johnny Tran will take race number 1 as he takes out a couple spectators. Alright, folks, Jesse's down 1 race to 0. Will he be able to come back from this loss? Alright, they switch lanes and head back up to the starting line. Johnny Tran in the far lane, Jesse in the close lane. Neck and neck going into the first turn. Jesse has a slight advantage, but into turn number 2, Johnny Tran in the S2000 takes the lead. He lands on 2 tires, but that didn't slow him down, but Jesse's right in his tail. Can Jesse pass on the inside? No, Jesse blows it. Down into the last turn they go, and Johnny Tran wins by 2 car lengths, and now Jesse owes Johnny Tran that Volkswagen Jetta. And where's Jesse going? Maybe he's going to the car wash. All right, we'll move Johnny Tran to the next spot in the bracket and we'll head straight into the next group, the orange Supra versus the Dodge Charger. Supra in the far lane. That's Brian driving that against Dom in the Charger. Brian owes Dom a 10-second car. Will he be able to do it? Brian pulls a barrel roll in the second turn into Dom's lane, and down over the jump he goes. Will he stick the landing? He spins over, and so does Dom. They're both on their roofs, and they come to a stop. They'll head back to the starting line and restart in the same position that they were in the past race. Brian out front early again in that Supra, showing how fast that car is versus that Dodge Charger. And folks, there's no trains or trucks on this track, so these two do not have to worry about a crash at the end of this race, but they do have to worry about spectators as long as they can cross the finish line smooth. Brian takes race number 1. They'll rotate lanes at the start and head down the track again. Brian on the inside of the first lane, Dom on the outside. Brian again putting gaps on that Charger. Down over the jump it goes, a little nose heavy. He slides sideways, looks backwards at Dom as he flips over on his hood, and Brian will drive down the track in reverse. Brian's known for driving in reverse, but usually it's in a Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution with his middle finger out the door, which we might see that later in this tournament. Stick around and find out. Brian moves on in the orange Toyota Supra. 2JZ, no shit. All right, next up we have the Yenko Camaro versus Brian in his Eclipse. We know Brian has a lot of NOS, but I don't know if he can beat the Yenko Camaro. The Yenko Camaro's got a lot of muscle. He can snap that speedo in under 5 seconds. Getting massive air over the jump. We'll slow it down for you again. Landing in the front left of the car, but sticking it, which Brian does not stick it in the Eclipse. The Camaro will travel down the track into the last turn and down across the finish line to take race number 1. Folks, it's not looking good for our boy Brian, but he is in the outside lane now, which is a slightly faster lane for whatever reason on this track. It does have a slight advantage, and you'll find out right in this turn as Brian pulls up side next to that Camaro. But over the jump it goes. The Yenko Camaro passes mid-air and cuts to the left and cuts off Brian. Will Brian be able to come back? He's fast. Now's the time to hit the NOS, Brian. Into the last turn they go, and the Yenko Camaro takes the win by 4 or 5 or 6 car lengths. I didn't measure, but Yenko Camaro wins it. We're keeping the action going and going straight into the next race. We have Han in the S15 Sylvia, aka the Mona Lisa, and DK, Drift King, in that 350Z. This is not a drift competition, but we'll see if these two travel straight down the track in the fastest line possible, or they want to pull some drift moves to make it really fancy. DK trying to pass on the outside, but Han does not let him by. Han keeps the lead as they go back into the last turn, and DK spins around, trying to pass in reverse, but does not have enough as they cross the finish line. Han will take race number 1. All right, this is DK's time to win, but Han is fast in that Silvia S15 out in front. Over the jump they go. DK tries to pass midair, takes the inside, but isn't able to pass, and Han pulling away faster than a Banshee out there. Down across the finish line he goes. Where is DK? Well, DK's back there drifting. Someone needs to tell him that drifting is not the fastest way down this track. But hey, with the name DK, you have to do some drifting out there, or you ain't gonna live up to your name. Han in the S15 moves on to the next round. We're gonna head to the opposite side of the bracket. We have Slapjack in the Toyota Supra versus Brian in the iconic R34. We know that R34 is fast. We know Brian's a good driver, but will Brian be able to keep this car on the track? We should find out now. Brian way out in front. We don't even see the Supra. Brian's gonna walk away with this one. Whoa! Brian skids sideways and bounces off of the spoon building and flies off the track completely. And Slapjack, not even in a hurry, trickles down across the finish line and takes race number 1. It's not looking good for Brian here, folks. He has to keep it on the track. I'm not sure why he's attracted to that building, but look at him go. He's super fast. Down over he goes. Massive air, landing on his front, almost, the back end almost flying off the track, but he's able to save it with that precision driving and extreme skill, and plus that R34 is just badass. Down over the track he goes, and whoa! Into the same building again! Brian, what are you doing? There he sits on the side of the track. Will Slapjack come down this time and take race number 2? No Slapjack, folks. He must have crashed over the turn. Lucky for Brian, he gets another chance at taking this race and moving on. Again, way out in front with massive air, almost flying off the track again. Slapjack spinning around in the background. And speaking of spinning around, Brian spins around, throws it in reverse to see where Slapjack and that Supra is. And he goes down and crosses the finish line in reverse, looking for his opponent, which is nowhere to be found. All right, it's 1-1, folks. It's all tied up. Brian, all he has to do is keep it on the track, and he wins and moves on. Another massive amount of air in that R34. Dang, that thing is sexy. Bring it home, Brian. Around the last turn he goes, and oh my gosh, he hits a man, an S2000, and the spoon building again for the 3rd time. And that man just goes flying and knocks over another man. We're gonna need medical attention trackside. And here comes Slapjack. When he get by, Slapjack passes Brian, hits the guy on the side of the track, and wins and moves on. You hate to see that from Brian. He goes home packing in round number 1. Next up, we have Suki in the pink S2000 and Brian driving that Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution. He is too fast. He's too furious. Too fast for me. I'm a terrible singer, but we're gonna leave that in there. Brian's flying down the track. He's going in the last turn. Can he stick it, or is he gonna drive off the track like he did in the Skyline? There's still a man on the side of the track. That man has his feet on the side of the track still. Someone get that man out of the way, or he could seriously get injured. Hopefully the track crew is down there trackside and get that guy off the track into safety, because here comes these cars again. Brian in the Evo again way out front. Jumps it, and he's a little nose heavy there, but is able to hold on to it. Does a little bit of drift around turn number 3. Suki not applying any pressure whatsoever. Brian is going to walk away with this one. And whoa! I told you, he hit the guy on the side of the track, and Suki comes down and hits the other guy in the head, folks. Oh my gosh, that has to be a fatality. That guy is not living. There's no possible way. I hope he signed the waivers that we sent out. Sorry, that was just a moment of silence. I took a moment of silence for that man on the track because we're not sure if he is alive or not. He's in critical condition, I've heard. Actually, I don't even know. He's a 164 scale figure. He's probably fine. He just got hit by a little car and doesn't actually have brains to splatter on the track at all. All right, here comes Dom down this track in his Charger. He's racing against Sean Boswell in the Monte Carlo. Dom hits the S2000, spins around sideways, collides with who knows how many people, comes to a stop in reverse, and Sean Boswell in the Monte Carlo takes race number 1. They will switch lanes, and out of there again they go. Again, the Charger is out front. That's the Hellcat version of that. That thing is fast, sleek, black, all blacked out and looking good. Can he stick it on the track? Race number 2 goes to Dom in the Charger, and we don't even see Sean Boswell make it down the track. It's possible that he did not make it over that jump because that Monte Carlo's got a very skinny wheelbase, which is not very stable on this track. The Charger out front again. As long as he can keep it on the track, he will knock Sean Boswell out of this tournament. And there you go, folks. Again, hitting a CRX, an Advan livery CRX on the side of the track, but crossing the finish line. Dom and the Charger moves on to the next round. Next up, we have an STI driven, I think it was driven by Dom and Brian in 2 different scenes of the movie, but that STI, we're not gonna call a driver in that one. We're just gonna say it's the STI racing against the Chevy Fleetwood. No, not Fleetwood. This isn't Fleetwood Mac. It's a Chevy Fleet line. Nonetheless, that car was on fire in the movies, and it does not look like it's going to make it very far in this race. Not with a lot of speed. The WRX STI crosses the finish line in first place. They switch lanes and they're out of there again. The STI out front early. Can he hold on to it? That STI is strong out of the gate, but we have just seen that he's not a strong finisher. Down in the last turn, making the slight bounce off the curb, drift across the finish line. He takes it in 2 races and moves on to the next round. That wraps up round number 1. We're going to head back over in the bracket to the S2000 and the Supra. Johnny Tran versus Brian. Who do you have to come out on top? Did you pick either of these cars to win? I hope you did. I hope you followed the instructions at the beginning of this video and picked your favorite car and dropped it in the comments. Folks, I genuinely hope your car is still in this tournament. And we just missed a crazy move by Johnny Tran, landing sideways and whoa! I didn't even know. Screw that move. This move's cooler. Brian just pulled a 1080 off that spoon building. I'm not sure what it is about that spoon building or the position of it, but we might have to add some guardrails down on that part of the track. The end of the track has low side rails for this reason, folks. It's an added obstacle. What the heck just happened? Brian just jumped completely off the track. So much air, he shot to the left and missed the track completely. You hate to see that happen because there is no sub-track padding under this system at all. That is an impact with the ground, which if you know Hot Wheels and you know hard objects, that could bend an axle and end your career. Or you could die. Johnny Tran moves on. Next up, we have the Yenko Camaro versus Han in the S15. That Yenko Camaro is looking good, but Han is fast. Down over the jump they go. The Yenko wants to pass midair, and he rolls off the track. Lands. It looks like Han might have veered to the left a little bit and bumped into him. Was that sabotage? Is Han driving dirty? Let me know in the comments. Do you think Han was driving dirty there, or do you think that was a clean jump over that jump? Was it a clean jump over the jump? All right, it looks like the Yenko Camaro is back on the track and still rolling. That's good to see. But is he a match for Han? The Mona Lisa, the perfect piece of art, still intact. I hated that part of the movie, man. They just wrecked that car, and you know they wrecked it for real. And that's a beautiful S15. And you know how much money they waste in these movies wrecking cars? If you just give me a little, I would take a wrecked S15. Just hand it over. I'll take it. I'll fix it up, and I'll leave it in my garage, and I'll sit in it and act like I'm driving it, even if it doesn't run, even if it's smashed up. I'll take it. Salvage title and all. All right, we have the Mitsubishi Lancer Revolution racing against Slapjack in the Toyota Supra. We had 2 Supras enter this tournament. Will either of them win? One's already out, and it looks like it's not looking good for Slapjack in that. I think it's a 1994 Supra, Hot Wheels casting. However, I'm not sure what year the Supra was in the movie. Brian pulling the signature Evo move. I'm pretty sure if little figures that drive these cars could, he would have his hand out the window with his middle finger in the air. He hits something at the finish line. It could potentially be the finish line cam, and he stops to look for his competition, which is not there. Brian moves on. to the next round. We have Johnny Tran, Han, and Brian in the Evo in the next round. We have Dom in the Charger versus the STI. Dom looking really good over that jump. Sticks landing. Will the STI even have a chance against Dom? Dom was looking good, does a little drift in the last turn, and takes race number 1 with ease. STI spins around backwards, pulling some style points at the end there that add up to absolutely nothing. Folks, we do not get style points. If you think we should add a style point scoring criteria in this tournament, let us know in the comments. That could be cool. Whoa! Dom spins around sideways, and the STI takes advantage of it, bumping off of his rear bumper and taking the win in race number 2. It's tied up 1 race to 1 race. And somehow, the Charger gets spun back around and makes it down the track. All right, the Charger is in the slightly faster lane, and we know it's slightly faster, but can he stick it on the track and hold it off for the win? We find out right now. He spins sideways in the same turn again, and the STI in reverse passes in the exact same spot he did in the last race. Spins back around, again, the style points. Holy crap, that looks cool. 180s in the turn and down across the finish line he goes, and the STI is not the fastest car, but he might be the luckiest car, because folks, he's moving on to the final 4. Things are really heating up in the Fast and the Furious tournament at Tiny Track Cars, a matchup you never thought you'd see. It's Han versus Johnny Tran. Did they ever meet in any movie? I'm not really sure. Speaking of dirty moves, folks, remember that time I had you vote in the comments if that was a dirty move, knocking the car off the track? Again, I want you to let me know if you thought that was a dirty move. The S2000 was a little unstable after landing that jump, and Han just slid his car right underneath and rolled him over in that turn. Han out front again, down over the jump they go. Surprisingly, Han is fast, but he does not get a lot of air off the jumps, which is good. Less air time, the better. Johnny Tran right in his butt, and now right in the junkyard because he just smashed that beautiful S2000, and Johnny Tran will go home packing, and Han will move on to the finals. Who's going to join him? We have an STI versus Evo battle here. This is the classic rally car battle. I personally owned an 04 STI. I'm rooting for the STI, but the Evo is extremely fast, and he's showing it, folks. He's way out in front. He's going to walk away with this one. Hits a car, and surprisingly, no people? The one man cheering gets nipped the littlest bit, but that was the closest I've ever seen a car to so many people, and no one actually got hurt in that, except for the guy's car got smashed and chucked off the track. All right, the Evo is up 1 race to 0. The STI right in his tail. Will the STI be able to get by the Evo? It's not looking so good for the Evo, but the Evo's off the track. 50-50 grinding. I don't know if it's a 50-50 grind. I think a 50-50 grind is on both axles. That was kind of like one axle up, and I don't know. Skateboarders, let me know what that grind was. Either way, Brian lost that race by literally a car length. The STI, again with his luck, sneaks by and crosses the finish line in first place. Whoa, look at that move. Lands, throws his tail up on the berm, slides it sideways, and still holds on to first place. That STI knocking on the back door, or the trunk, of that Evo. Into the last one they go. The Evo is backwards. He's sideways, trying to block the STI, and he fails to make the block, and the STI will move on again, folks. I'm telling you, that STI is not fast, but he is lucky. Will his luck continue against Han here in the finals? Mona Lisa versus the STI. 2 beautiful cars. Did you predict either of these cars would make it this far in this tournament? I sure didn't. I was rooting for the S2000 because I am personally an S2000 fan. I'm an S2000 collector, not real ones. I've had 2 of them in real life, but I collect 1/64 scale S2000s, and I was rooting for, personally, Suki, because I like her more than Johnny Tran. Han goes up 1 race to 0, and he's looking good in the second race as well. Is this going to be an exciting finals or a boring finals? The STI on the tail of Han takes the inside. Can he make the pass? No, he gets denied by Han, the S15, and S15 takes the win and wins the Fast and the Furious tournament. Han, the S15, is the winner, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you picked Han from the beginning. Again, I really appreciate you being here. Your support means more than you know. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and maybe consider sharing it. And we'll see you in the next one.